It's embarrassing for Hewitt.
I was just about to say, this is a important game here from Federer in many ways, because when you won a set 6-love, it's always difficult to sort of maintain that level early on in the second, and also this is the last game before the new balls as well, so they'll be playing a little slower.
Played. Haven't been able to say that too often about Hewitt.
The first time that Federer's just made a bad choice of shot.
That's the sort of thing that he's just got to completely eradicate from his game if he wants to make any impact at all here.
Well, in many ways, maybe Hewitt getting a little bit of his uppance here for sort of saying how much he doesn't care about this tournament and worrying about the French Open. I do feel as though some of these guys who say that don't realise how much they're denigrating their own tour, and you know, this is a massive tournament with a lot of money at stake, and as you can see with Federer, the world #1, you know, there's a huge reason to win this. Important psychologically, as we see Boris Becker.
Well, that's exactly what Federer in fact has said in an interview, that you know, some players are looking on this tournament as practice for the French Open. He said this is far too big a tournament in its own right to talk like that. Good enough to force an error on the volley. Rather languid volley, actually.
You can't continually keep biting the hand that feeds you without people outside saying, well, if they're saying that inside the tour, you know, no wonder the perspective of tennis at times is like it is. And Federer's all class. I mean, he's had problems with the balls. He said back in 2002, felt like I totally needed to change my game to play with these tennis balls. But yeah, a lot of the time it's private. He doesn't come out and say it up front and try and say, well, look, you know, the tour's got it wrong with the balls again. He knows there's a few problems, but hopefully by next year they'll have sorted it out.
Well, I think I agree. He treats court surface like the balls. It's just a time to adjust your game to suit the surface or the balls. It's the same for both players, of course. Federer nearly managed to win that point.
Yeah, you kind of feel that every time he puts his racket on the ball, he should make it the way that he's playing so far.
Funny how the guy on top usually gets the luck as well.
Well, it's not coincidence, is it? You hit with just a little bit more conviction, a little more belief it's going to go over, and Federer's earned his luck.
And he's earned the point. The break.
Taking that point, there's real potential for the double bagel.
Yeah, because Hewitt was hitting so short. I mean, he was being hurried all the time because he was hitting short. Just panic a bit in those eyes. Hardly surprising.
Served well in this match, Hewitt. Which would be a worry to him when he looks at the scoreboard every time.
The groan comes from the crowd here because there was nothing difficult about that shot.
Except that it was game point, and he's yet to get a game.
Oh, well played, Hewitt. You expect gutsy performances from him, and you got it right then.
What a save by Hewitt. Federer did so well with that long outside edge of the line, and then once he hits this forehand, you think the point's his, but Hewitt, last-ditch attempt to save it, comes up with something just a little bit special.
Yes, no call on the line. Hewitt's on the board. Things just might change. Although I wouldn't put your house on it.
Yeah, you wouldn't put your house on it, but certainly that's a big moment in this match. That was a shocking bounce. It didn't even look as though it caught the line. Maybe just the inside edge, but different psychological battle now. Hewitt can just start concentrating on his tennis rather than worry about the humiliation. Doesn't look too perturbed by losing his first game.
Good anticipation, but he is moving so smoothly. When you move this smoothly, you normally play out of your skin. He is. Serving brilliantly as well, bearing it high percentage of first serves in and leading 2-1. 1-2. That was a good point by Hewitt there. A couple of good shots to finish with.
Yeah, and a safer forehand cross-court that time by Hewitt. Didn't have to go and try and paint the lines. Just gets it there, works the angles.
This has to be the first time Hewitt's been 30 love on his serve. That was by some distance his best game in this match so far. Now can he contain it? Can he sustain it? Only 39 minutes for a set and a half.
39 minutes and the match has really finally started. Turn the clock back to 0-0. You know, and again here, Hewitt hasn't played great tennis all throughout the week, and we've seen him, you know, miss numerous shots like that as the week's gone by because he's trying to play a little bit more aggressive, and you can't just switch it over in a match. This is the whole thing like last year where he cut down on his schedule, played fewer tournaments than he'd ever played before, and there's no doubt it hurt him going into the majors. No magic switch. I mean, even Tiger Woods, who was forced in many ways to take a lighter schedule because of his knee injury, even he suffered into the majors because he hadn't played enough of the build-up tournaments.
No, I quite agree. You don't win a tournament and you don't win matches on past experience. You're only as good as your present and future match, really. You don't win matches just on guts, otherwise Hewitt would win it all. Another immaculate service game variation, and keeping ahead 3-2. In Miami, rather.
Bill, you've watched tennis over the last
100 years.
Wasn't going to say it, but if you are,
yep.
Seen a better player than this guy potentially?
No.
Enjoyed watching anybody more than this?
No. The only person I would compare him with is Sampras, and I didn't enjoy watching Sampras play so much because it was sort of at his best. It was just staccato type brilliance. This is as though somebody's opened up his head and poured a tin of oil into him, and it is just absolutely unbelievable. I think he's got the potential, Mark, if that's what you mean, to get maybe even better than Sampras as a player. I very much doubt if anybody will beat Sampras's Grand Slams. But this fellow, what is he, 22 years old? I mean, he's going to see a lot of Hewitt, who's 23. Going to see a lot of Correa as well, so these guys might stop him. Or arrest the progress, but he is so talented and so athletic and humble with it that it's all astonishing.
So the problem with tennis in some quarters is more perception than reality, because we've got, as you've just said, probably the best player to watch that you've seen over the last 30 years or so?
That's an incredible point too. He just sort of hoiked that ball as his girlfriend looks on in sort of blank astonishment. She's a player herself.
It's just been simply irresistible play from Federer, and Hewitt has just had too few answers to this. I'm not sure anyone on the planet could have beaten him today.
No, over the years, to carry on that, I've seen the odd shot, like for example Roosevelt's backhand, which was a thing of pure beauty. Sampras's serve, which was probably the best serve I've ever seen, for variation speed and everything else. But not the complete. He is the complete package, this guy.
I see Hewitt getting upset. It's just preparation for the French, isn't it?
I know. Be nice to him. He's suffering. Boy, is he ever suffering. Well, there he's forced to play that sort of squash shot wide on his forehand, and it's not working either. I think, Mark, just because Federer is playing so smoothly, it doesn't guarantee in any way winning the French Open. Somebody like Torrier or Moya or even Acosta, you know, who's lost you already this year, they could just stop him, but he, of course, is right up there with the potentials. So he's almost there in this match. 5-2. If they're really hot, could win the French Open again. Ferrero, of course, who we've hardly seen anything of this year. I can't believe he's going to come in 100% fit. Serving to stay in the match. He's human, proving it.
Give him the momentary lapse of concentration on that shot.
I don't believe for a second he's patronising and giving a point away. He is ruthless on court. That was a marvellous guess. Way behind him, Federer, back to the net. Heaving a backhand cross court. Perfect height. Roger Rashid, shocked as everybody here. Full of admiration, I've no doubt as well. A little bit more respectability on the horizon here for Hewitt. A couple of game points. Definitely more respectability. 3-5.
Well, it would be a bit of an injustice if Federer didn't close it out now, such as his dominance in this match, but as you well know, it's not over until the last point is won, and Hewitt has been a master in the past of turning defeat into victory.
Never more so than in the Davis Cup against Switzerland. 2 sets to love down against this guy. Every time he hits the ball, there's that sort of noise, like you get when the Rolls-Royce door is slammed, just a sort of perfect thud. You don't get that from many players. I can remember one mishit noise from Federer in this match. If you see a close-up, a slow motion close-up of Federer hitting the ball, you just watch his eyes. They're just glued to the ball as he hits it. That's one of the reasons he hits in the middle of that racket. Yep, good anticipation and that faultless volley then.
Yeah, needed to be aware as well. Hewitt with the single-hander, almost producing a shot. It's a great attempt by the Australian. But again, Federer there. Miraculous first forehand by Federer to get himself into the point, but 4 points gone in this game, and Hewitt yet to make an unforced error. The match on the line, and he's certainly not going to give it to Federer. Let's beg the question why he didn't play a little tighter earlier on.
Hewitt did not deserve to lose that point, really. Played beautifully, but of course Federer played the winning shot.
And that shot there is outrageous from Federer. Looked as though Hewitt was going to earn the break point. Federer today has just been the master.
This crowd here and us and everybody would just love to see this go on, because it really has begun to warm up and you're seeing spectacular shots. I mean, that last point could well have been the best point of the match.
Thanks.
Match point. Skidded that. He actually came across the ball slightly, a little bit of side spin, taking it just wide.
Kovac at the back there behind Vavrinec. Kovac, Federer's fitness trainer on the road.
Yeah, that's right. He's got another fitness trainer back home called Paganini. And that should guarantee he's on song when he gets in fit. break point. Would you believe it? Talk about gutsing it out. He breaks, it's 4-5. It could have been over, but it's not. Boris there, astonished. The almost impossible of taking the game away from Federer for a moment. Yep, too good.
That's how Federer's now having to earn his points. Hewitt not making the errors, just knuckling down, trying to make life uncomfortable for the Swiss star. Going back to his old routine of making you hit that one extra shot. At that time, Federer up to it.
His shot selection throughout has been so immaculate.
What I love about that last forehand, I mean, it's the backhand that obviously earns him the chance, but total commitment to hitting that winner. He didn't worry about which way Hewitt was looking to move, just drills it, just knows it's going to be good enough.
Does it again, goes behind Hewitt, twice running. Looks to me, Mark, like he's just punishing Hewitt for having the nerve to take his serve away from him last game.
I think you're right, Bill. I mean, what an awesome 3 points.
Just about as dominant as anything he's done in this match, which has been absolutely fabulous to watch. 3 match points. There's a rather lame ending, which is sad for Hewitt. But apart from that brief little bit of dominance in that last game when he actually broke Federer, it was a fantastic performance, and Hewitt, I think, will be the first to say, and probably also Federer will say, that was something else.
Yeah, and it's about quality, not quantity, that makes a spectacle. And right there, that was all quality from Roger Federer. Totally outplayed Leighton Hewitt, and his real litmus test will come though against Guillermo Coria if he can get by Ivan Lubicic in the next match up. But certainly let's just applaud Federer as the crowd are.
And Leighton Hewitt leaves the court knowing that he was beaten by the better man on the day by a long way. Roger Federer into tomorrow's final, and we'll have that final for you live from noon on Sky Sports Extra. Roger Federer, the world #1, will take on either Ivan Lubicic or Guillermo Coria. The second semi-final of the day coming your way from 2 o'clock this afternoon. The next time we'll see Leighton Hewitt will be the World Team Cup. We'll be live on Sky Sports Extra from midday for Australia versus America. We're sitting here in the studio watching that match and looking at my dictionary to try and find a word that would describe that performance from Roger Federer. Couldn't find one. Wow, I think is probably the best way to describe that. It was breathtaking right the way through. As Petch said, it was quality from start to finish.
I think Federer's starting to take this game to a new level. He's just, if you look at 3 perfect performances from Federer in the last year, when he beat Roddick in the semi-final of Wimbledon, when he beat Agassi in the final of the Masters Cup, and today this maybe surpassed those 2 previous efforts from Federer. He was just awesome from the very first point to the very last. Even when he served for the match, got a little bit tight, which you would expect because it's a huge occasion for Federer. There was no bad body language, no reaction. He was just totally in control of his emotions. And I think one of those reasons is he won a Grand Slam at exactly the right time. You look at Marat Safin, he won the US Open too early, wasn't able to control with the pressure, but Federer won Wimbledon last year and he's going from strength to strength.
We always talk about world-class players coming out and stamping their mark on a match. And certainly Federer did that right at the start. It was, this is my match, you're not in my league.
Well, it's been brewing, hasn't it, this week? He's got better and better as the week's gone on. When you've beaten Hewitt the last time and you start this well, it's got to rock Lleyton Hewitt. And just was Federer's awesome timing, awesome display early on that Hewitt was just totally shell-shocked from Federer's punishing ground shots. He was picking Hewitt off side to side, and then when he had the short ball, he only had one thing in mind, and Petch made a good comment in the last game. You know, when Federer gets a short ball, he doesn't worry about the speed of Hewitt. He doesn't worry about the strength of another player. He just thinks, okay, my forehand is a world-class shot. If I hit it in the right area on the court, I will win the point. And exactly that's the approach that Federer is going to need tomorrow, ahead of possibly Guillermo Coria.
The length of Roger Federer's ground strokes today from the back of the court was immaculate. I mean, impeccable. And that was another reason why he was able to dominate Hewitt from the baseline.
Well, there's no doubt Hewitt didn't play his best tennis, but I think it was largely due to Roger Federer. Hewitt just couldn't really attack Federer because in this point Federer's just hitting 3-4 shots deep, waiting for the short ball, and then that's the ghosting in again, another tactic he's going to have to use yesterday. But the impressive thing about Federer is his composure on the court. If he needs to hit 4 or 5 shots, he's prepared to do it. And again, that is a great quality of a player to win Grand Slams. You know, they just have total relaxation on every God-given shot that they have to hit.
Whenever you win a first set 6-love, beware, because your opponent more than likely will strike back. But it was Federer who did keep the momentum going and get the first break in the second set. Well,
so often we see with Hewitt, he does fight back, but it was one of those. This match was one of those feelings where you never thought the Aussie was going to come back. Such was Federer's awesome display, and he's got himself to 15-40 by playing 3 perfect points. Hewitt didn't make an unforced error, and again, it's that running forehand. As soon as you hit into that area and the court's open, Federer is going to pick you off time and time again. And in the last year, we've talked about the big forehands on the tour. We've talked about Gonzalez. We've talked about Carlos Moya. I tell you, I think possibly Federer is the #1 in that department now.
We always thought Hewitt would try and stage some form of a comeback, and when he did get to a break point, it was almost as if he went back to the instincts of days gone by, where he just took his position on the baseline and said, I'm not going to make an error. You make the error, because I want the break.
Well, lots being said about Lleyton Hewitt and possibly the input he's having off the court. But why does it take Lleyton Hewitt to set down 5-3, break point, before he plays his strengths? This is how he should really play the match from the very first point. And if Federer can hit winner after winner, then he just says too good. And, you know, it's just really a shame that Hewitt can't do this from the very start, because if he did, you know, who knows, Federer might have broken down earlier on in the match.
Of Hewitt, the training that he was putting in when he was world #1 is the same right now?
Who knows? We don't know the work ethic of Lleyton Hewitt. I don't believe he is different physically now as he was 3 years ago. But I think there's a number of factors. I think one of the reasons why he tried to change his game, Lleyton Hewitt, is because he's been destroyed on certain occasions, like today, and that has rocked him mentally. And he thought, well, if I'm going to get back to world #1, I'm going to have to be more aggressive. I'm going to have to take more risks. But that's not his strength. You're asking someone to do something that they're not comfortable with. And I think Lleyton Hewitt's attitude when he was world #1 was, okay, I am #1 for 2 years because I am the most consistent player. And I think if he's going to get back to the world's top 5, that is what's going to take him there.
Will the world's top 5 for him suffice, though? I mean, once you've been the best in the game, surely that's the only place that you'll feel comfortable with again.
I've said on record, and I've said it quite a few times, I think he got to world #1 by default. And I don't want to sound cruel.
Come on. Well, rankings don't lie, Baz.
No, if I can back that up, what I've just said.
Okay, please.
He got to world #1 in an era of tennis when Sampras and Agassi. Sampras was on his way down. He wasn't playing the same amount of tournaments. Agassi was playing reduced amount of tournaments, and the tennis was going through a transitional era, and we were waiting for Roger Federer, Andy Roddick, Juan Carlos Ferrero to make that step. Everyone was talking about the huge potential that those 3 players have, but all 3 of them weren't able to take the mantle of world #1 on their shoulders.
So Hewitt was. So surely he was there by right. It wasn't by default. He was there by right because he could handle it at that given time.
No,
surely.
I take your point, but I always think world #1s are the players that when they play their 100% maximum, they will beat any player in the world. Pete Sampras was that. It doesn't matter who he had at the other end of the net. Andre Agassi, I remember in the final of the Wimbledon, Agassi played near perfection. Sampras destroyed him in 3 sets. But what Federer now is at that stage, I don't care who's at the other end of the net. You might have an Andy Roddick who serves 75% first serves in. I still feel Roger Federer will come on top, and that.
But wasn't Hewitt like that for 2 years, though? I mean,
No.
how did he finish twice the end of year world #1 if he wasn't playing 100% and beating these people?
Well, I don't believe he was that person. I think he had matches during those 2 years that if players, Safin beat him in the final of Paris indoors, beat him in 3 straight sets, beat him a 6-love set, that would never have happened to Pete Sampras at his prime, and that would never happen to Roger Federer at his prime. I mean, he got to world #1, yes, because he was a great player and he was consistent, but I don't think he will get back there again.
Okay, I think we could probably debate this for quite a while to come. Where ultimately does this leave Lleyton Hewitt? I mean, was this a wake-up call for him today, or would nobody have beaten Roger Federer?
No one would have beaten Federer today, and I would put Guillermo Correa in that as well. I think if Federer plays the same level tomorrow that he played today, I can see the Swiss man coming through. But Correa is, at the moment, understands his game a little better than Lleyton Hewitt, and I think Correa will say, okay, I'm going to play to my strengths and stick with his strengths, whatever happens. And I think Hewitt didn't do that when he was rattled, and that's what you've got to do when you play Federer. Just stick to what you're good at, and at the end of the day, Federer destroys you, then you just shake his hand and say, too good.
Okay, thank you. Here's Roger Federer with Kate Robinson.
Roger, that first set you were absolutely untouchable.
Yeah, it was great. You know, obviously you never expect a match like this when you come into the semi-finals of a Masters series against a former world #1 to win a set 6-love, but it really was a great match from my side. I don't know, my forehand was working incredible in the beginning. My backhand was there from the start too, and the serve, you know, has been as good as the last 2 matches too. So I'm extremely happy.
You won your first title here in Hamburg, your first Masters Series title here in Hamburg. It's going to be nice to go into the final as world #1 coming back again.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I'm surprised, you know, I'm playing well here in Hamburg because those conditions usually don't really suit me too well, I would say, but I think I have improved so much mentally and physically to be able to compete on this surface. So to be back in the finals in Hamburg is great, obviously.
Your opponent is going to be one of 2 players, very, very different players. Tell me about them.
I mean, Ljubicic, you never know with him really. He's a big server, and you know, sometimes you don't have much control over the match. So, but over a best of 5 match, 5 sets, sorry, you know, I think you will always get your chance once in the match. So I think it will be tough against either one. You know, Korea hasn't lost a match since the French Open last year on clay, so obviously I want to be the first to stop one or the other one. I want to win this title. So.
Roger, thanks very much. Good luck tomorrow.
The smile says it all from Roger Federer. He's a man who is very comfortable where he is right now, and that's on top of the world. I mean, he's serving well. He said he's a little bit surprised at how well he is playing at this stage of the clay court season. I mean, there's no danger of him peaking too early, is there?
I don't think so. I don't think he is surprised by how well he's playing. I think we've seen, you know, over the last year that he can produce this type of performance day in, day out. And the scary thing with Federer is I believe he's going to get better and better. He's 22 years of age. The improvement he's made in the last year, he's talked about physically, he's talked about mentally. I think he's going to get better and better. And how good it is for the men's game, it is very, very healthy at the moment.
Certainly is. So Roger Federer through to final, where he'll face either Ivan Ljubicic or GM